To put it plainly, remix culture defines the various kinds of creative content that is seen in the digital spaces of today. We see remixing everywhere, from music mashups to sampling to memes and viral videos, etc. We could discuss the remix culture stratosphere for a long time. But for now, let's narrow it down to the most prominent and prevalent participation of remixing: music. Throughout the years, we have seen ideas behind remix culture shifting and changing the way music is created. It is because of this reason that some strongly feel that the laws need to be changed and modified in order to fit these new approaches to participation and creativity. Ian Hargreaves expresses in his independent report that the copyright regime cannot be considered fit for the digital age when millions of citizens are in daily breach of copyright simply for shifting a piece of music or video from one device to another.
We have to recognize they are different from us. It is technology that has made them different. And as we see what this technology can do, we need to recognize you can't kill the instinct the technology produces. We can only criminalize it. We can't stop our kids from using it. We can only drive it underground. We can't make our kids passive again. We can only make them, quote, pirates. And is that good?
People are confused about what is allowed and what is not. In his video essay, director, producer and filmmaker Kirby Ferguson argues that remixing in terms of music is most definitely nothing new and began in fact in the 1960s. Since then, remixing has spread to pretty much most media forms. He argues that everything is indeed a remix and that the idea of originality is simply a romanticized notion. Although remixing is accepted in today's modern digital age as it redefines what it really means to possess the title musical artist, the art itself is substantially difficult to do with the pressures of the current copyright and intellectual property laws in place. How can one thrive and be inspired to create freely if they are restricted and are in constant need of permissions and licenses? You can use the work of others if their copyright has expired, if the work used is covered under a licensing scheme, or if the copyright holder has given you permission. You can also, however, argue that your use of the work constitutes as a part of fair dealing, as defined by the 1988 Copyright Designs and Patents Act. Fair dealing basically covers and is the umbrella term for what falls into the copyright exception section of the Act found in Chapter 3. While it is true that some might argue that the current copyright laws in place limit the creative potential for up-and-coming musicians, artists, and entertainers, it is also fair to say that copyright laws are also there to innovate and inspire, whilst protecting the works of others. Many works on the internet have a Creative Commons license. Founded in 2001, Creative Commons is a public copyrights licensing system and movement which enables creators to apply various kinds of licenses to their works, allowing them to be freely shared or distributed for non-commercial purposes. Lawyer, activist, and co-founder of Creative Commons, Lawrence Lessig, in his 2010 TED Talks, takes a closer look at remix culture and its needs for laws that enable people to create freely.
This ecology of sharing needs freedom within which to create. Freedom, which means without permission from anyone, the ability to create. And number three, we need to respect the creator of these remixes through rights that are directly tied to them.
This is why Creative Commons is an exceptional way for the original creator of the works to still be given the proper credit they deserve, whilst also allowing new creators to build upon, remix, mash up and change the original work without having to go through the hassle of asking for permission and requesting a legal license. Sampling, mashups and remixing are all very similar and notable, especially in the current digital age. The consumer ultimately becomes the creator of content by incorporating portions of other people's works into their own, or by simply being inspired by them. In a documentary, RIP, a remix manifesto released under a Creative Commons license, activists Brett Gaylor and Greg Gillis investigate how remix culture and mashups have contributed to the creative digital age of today. Gillis, better known as Gel Talk, is a DJ who specializes in remixing, mashups, and digital sampling. Gillis samples from thousands of popular music classics, which he cuts up and reassembles to create new songs. But the problem isn't whether the music is original or not. The issue at hand here is who owns the copyright. According to the people that do own the copyright and their representatives, sampling something even as minor as a single note is grounds for a lawsuit. Take the 2014 case of Tough America Incorporated versus Warner Bros. Their claim was that in the musical work of Sean Jay-Z Carter in Run This Town, the O was sampled from Eddie Bo and the Soul Finders song Hook and Sling, and apparently was used more than 40 times. In this case, however, the copyright infringement of a single syllable could be seen as dubious. According to the Music Copy Infringement Resources website, it would not have been correct to claim copyright infringement when the word O is obviously not a copyrighted word, and certainly not the original work of Eddie Bo and the Soul Finders. Sampling is still seen as controversial, both morally and legally. But as I mentioned before, it is high time that the laws were revised and changed to cater to the high demands of sampling. If these laws aren't revised, then many creators of musical works will be left questioning the legality of covers, remixes, mashups of existing songs posted by these non-professional singers and artists on websites such as YouTube and SoundCloud. But one might assume that due to the prevalent culture of remixing, mashups and sampling, everyone must be aware of this practice. But this is not so. And even though Kirby Ferguson shows us that everything is in fact a remix, others might need more information on the area of music and research sampling. Who Sampled is a website that connects the dots and bridges the gaps between songs, artists, and samples. Nate Harrison, in his 2004 audio documentary, Can I Get an Amen?, explores the illustrious history of sampling, its pioneers, and the implications of ownership and copyright to creators of sample-based music. He discusses the musical instrument sample, Amen Breakbeat, which was produced, mastered, and composed by the Winston Brothers in the 1960s. The Amen Break has since been used numerous times by various artists and even has created new genres. Harrison reasons that not only does the innovation within culture grow when copyright is flexible, so do its markets and capital. New trends are developed, sounds are sought after, new releases are anticipated and become hugely popular, perhaps even selling out. Remixing and sampling bridges the gaps between generations, the old and the new, and the past to the present, fusing ideas together to ultimately create something tangible and new. In today's culture, it seems that the more familiar a song is or sounds, the better it does in the charts. And besides, there are many works that would not have existed today if it were not for the remix culture. Examples such as hip-hop, which Kirby Ferguson describes as the first popular music form to incorporate sampling from existing recordings. Hip-hop is a genre that incorporates sampling, mashups, and remixing, and has inspired millions to create freely. Another example of musical works that rely on remixing is rhythms. According to JamaicanPatwa.com, by definition, a rhythm is a reggae or dancehall term used to refer to the instrumental component of a song. Thus, a reggae or dancehall song consists of rhythms plus the vocal song by the DJ or singer. A single rhythm is normally used by multiple artists to record their tracks. In the Caribbean world, the culture of sampling, remixing, and mashups is nothing unheard of. In fact, sampling allows limitless creativity, which is heavily celebrated. Bajan starlet Rihanna's work, featuring Canadian artist Drake, which was a hit in 2016, samples Richie Stephens and Mikey 2000's Sail Away rhythm. But if we go back a little further, the same rhythm, which has been sampled by many Caribbean artists such as Beanie Man, Sean Paul, T.O.K. and Nitty Kutchi, actually samples Alexander O'Neal's 1985 hit, If You Were Here Tonight. which has also been sampled by other artists. One could say that the culture of rhythms relies heavily on creativity and remixing. The rhythms are created to inspire others to further create, and thus the circle continues. Drake is a prime example of a current artist that proudly engages in remix culture. According to WhoSampled.com, 299 of his tracks have used samples or inspiration from other artists. His latest album, More Life, boasts an extensive sample collection from artists such as Lionel Richie to YouTube rising stars such as For Your Entertainment. In one track, Georgia Interlude, he even samples his own 2011 track, Doing It Wrong. Some people might call this self-plagiarism, others might call it genius creativity. To conclude, a society that freely uses works from the past and is inspired by them to build and shape the future in order to create new meanings is most definitely richer than one that is heavily restricted and limited by copyright laws.
Tune and find something funky in it and then make it into something new.